Isaac Willer had always been a man of big dreams, but he was also someone who never let his feet leave the ground. Over a decade ago, he bought a struggling Italian-American restaurant chain in Ohio from an aging couple ready to retire. Back then, he had little more than a risky loan, a pair of worn-out boots, and a heart full of fire. But through grit, vision, and endless hours, he transformed that fragile dream into something real. 10 restaurants, 3 states, and a carefully chosen team of managers he trusted like family. But lately something had started to gnaw at him. It began quietly, unassuming reviews from one of his locations. Not angry rants, just soft warnings whispered through digital comments. Cold food, slow service, a staff that didn't seem to care. Nothing dramatic. But Isaac had learned to pay attention to quiet things. They had a way of growing louder when ignored. Then came the review that stopped him cold. Just one sentence. Tasted like leftovers from last week, never coming back. That line stayed with him like a splinter under the skin. It wasn't fear of losing customers that made his stomach churn. It was the betrayal of a standard he'd sworn never to compromise. Quality wasn't just a slogan for Isaac. It was the soul of his brand. The one line he refused to cross. He could have sent someone to investigate. He had people for that now. But he knew better. Second-hand reports are often softened, filtered through layers of diplomacy to protect feelings and reputations. The truth, raw and unfiltered, rarely made it to the top. And Isaac wasn't interested in stories shaped to spare his pride. He needed to see it. Feel it. It wasn't anger that pushed him into action. It was something deeper. A quiet ache that only a builder can feel when something he once poured his heart into begins to drift away. So he made a choice. No announcement, no warning. No one would know who he really was. On a gray, drizzly morning in Indiana, Isaac walked through the glass doors of Store 4, a modest-sized restaurant nestled in a busy strip mall. He had never set foot in this location. It opened after his last expansion phase, and with the high staff turnover, it had become just another line in a spreadsheet. But now, he was walking in as someone else entirely. His disguise was humble but convincing. Hair dyed salt and pepper, a fake beard, thick glasses, and an apron stitched with the name Trainee Ian. To anyone watching, he was just another new hire trying to make it through his first shift. No one batted an eye, not even a hint of suspicion. The shift manager that morning was Kelly, a woman in her 30s with an expression like overcast skies and the posture of someone who'd long stopped caring. She barely glanced at him before muttering, "You the new guy?" Then, popping her gum and folding her arms, she pointed him toward the kitchen. "Ian, we're short today. Just do what Devin tells you. Don't get in the way." Devin was the head chef, mid-40s, stocky build, shaped head, and eyes so tired they looked bruised. He didn't speak, just tossed Isaac a pair of gloves and pointed at the dish pit. The scent of stale water, the clatter of pans, and the suffocating kitchen heat sent Isaac back in time. Back to the days when he stood behind a grill to pay rent, long before he became Mr. Willer. 2 hours passed in silence. He scrubbed skillets, ran food, observed, and what he saw disturbed him. The front of house was sharp, particularly a young server named Delaney Zora. Barely 20, she was running 5 tables more than anyone else, still managing to smile and engage with each guest like they were the only ones in the room. But the kitchen? It was chaos cloaked in routine. Orders were stacked up, food sat under heat lamps too long, and Devin responded to questions with barks instead of answers. The team was tense, like they were always one mistake away from being humiliated. Around 7 p.m., the dinner rush hit like a wave. "Rand," Devin bellowed from the line. "Table 12. Go." Isaac grabbed the plates, chicken parm and seafood linguine, and weaved through the crowded dining room. As he set them down, the older gentleman at the table leaned in, sniffed the air, and furrowed his brow. "This fish smells off," the man whispered, almost apologetically. Isaac glanced at the dish. It looked fine, but he wasn't so sure. "I'll check with the kitchen," he said quickly, and turned back. When he relayed the concern, Devon waved him off without even looking up. "Tell him it's fresh, came in yesterday." Isaac paused. In that moment, a quiet war waged inside him. His instincts, his principles, and his past collided. He knew the second he nodded, the second he let that plate go back out, he'd be complicit in something he'd spent his entire life fighting against. "You want to work here or not?" Devon snapped. Isaac didn't respond. He simply turned away, his stomach heavy with unease. After the dinner rush subsided, the heat in the air began to cool. But inside Isaac, something twisted tighter. He returned to the kitchen just in time to catch Devon scraping leftover pasta, untouched but returned, into a plastic takeout container. "What are you doing?" Isaac asked, trying to keep his tone casual. "Relax, Ian," Devon replied, unconcerned. "It's just garlic noodles. No sauce, no bites. We reheat it for staff meals. It's fine." Isaac nodded, but his gut was screaming. Every fiber of him recoiled. How had this become acceptable in a place with his name on the lease? He didn't say anything more. He just picked up a mop and began to clean, trying to silence the churn inside him. But every streak across the floor felt like a betrayal of his standards, of his staff, and of the people who trusted his food. The next morning was worse. Isaac arrived before the restaurant opened and found Devon unlocking the walk-in fridge. Trying to keep things friendly, Isaac offered to help with the inventory. That's when he saw them. Plastic tubs labeled with dates from over a week ago, cooked chicken, shrimp, marinated mushrooms. He lifted one and asked softly, "These still good?" Devon shrugged. "They'll be cooked again. No one's gotten sick." Isaac said nothing. He just turned, grabbed a mop, and cleaned in silence, not because he agreed, but because he didn't yet know how to act without blowing his cover. Yet every motion felt heavier than the last, like wiping mud off a sinking ship. Lunchtime came. Isaac was running food again when he overheard a server whisper to a table, "Sorry, we're out of the fresh salmon. The kitchen's using frozen today." He scanned the room. And there she was, Delaney, still holding it together, still kneeling beside guests, still smiling, still making people feel seen. In that moment, amidst the dysfunction, she shone brighter than anything else. And Isaac, still anonymous, still wearing the name Ian, began to realize this wasn't just about spoiled fish or old pasta. This was about something deeper. The erosion of care, the breakdown of culture. And unless he acted soon, that erosion would reach every corner of what he had built. Certainly. Here is the expanded and emotionally enriched American English adaptation of your latest section, meeting your requested plus 60% word count increase, internal character depth and cinematic pacing for an American audience. The kitchen was a pressure cooker. Tight, loud, and teetering on the edge of chaos. Devon, already flushed and irritable, snapped at a teenage prep cook who'd used fresh herbs for garnishing. "Use the dried stuff first." "Don't waste the good stuff." Isaac stepped forward, his voice calm, almost too gentle to register. "Wouldn't it make more sense to use the fresh before it goes bad?" Devon spun on him, eyes blazing. "You're a trainee. Don't tell me how to run my kitchen." Isaac clenched his jaw and stepped back. He said nothing. He knew that if he pushed back now, it would explode, and not in a way that would fix anything. But deep down, the silence felt like surrender, and that feeling cut deeper than he expected. A part of him recoiled, not from Devon, but from the version of himself that had let it happen. That night, after closing, Isaac sat alone in his car, hands locked around the steering wheel. The air was stale, the silence pressing. He felt sick, physically sick. This wasn't just a business, it wasn't just one failing location. This was his company. His name was on every menu, every receipt, every door. He had built it with a belief in honesty, hospitality, and dignity. And here he was, watching one of his restaurants serve spoiled leftovers and tolerate abuse like it was normal. He didn't sleep that night. At dawn, long before opening hours, Isaac was already in the parking lot. The strip mall was mostly empty, the sky still wearing the soft gray of early morning. A couple of early shift workers unlocked storefronts and swept curbs. Isaac kept his head low beneath a worn baseball cap, walked around to the back entrance of the restaurant like he had the morning before. A delivery truck was already parked near the loading dock. The driver was unloading a pallet of dry goods. Isaac stepped forward, lifting a crate wordlessly. The driver grunted with gratitude. "New guy?" "Started yesterday," Isaac replied. The driver smirked. "This place churns through kitchen staff like no other. I swear, every time I drop off here it's someone new taking inventory." Isaac nodded silently and kept stacking. He didn't need more words, he already had more than enough. By the time the rest of the kitchen staff trickled in, half the shipment was inside. The walk-in fridge was propped open. Devin walked in, saw Isaac labeling boxes and barked, "You're not trained for this. Don't touch that." "I figured I'd save you some time," Isaac replied evenly. "Just stick to what you're told." Devin moved past him without even a glance. The same indifference, the same dismissal. 30 minutes later, the morning staff meeting took place in the cramped prep area. Kelly leaned against a cold metal counter, clipboard in hand, voice flat as she recited from her notes. "Lunch specials stay the same. Push the pasta combo. We're low on meatballs, so sub-sausage if needed." Delaney raised her hand, speaking softly. "Sorry, but yesterday a few tables got charged full price, even though I told them the combo discount applied." Kelly didn't look up. "Talk to me after." "It's been happening a lot lately. I think the register system hasn't been updated." "Then fix it during downtime. I'm not your babysitter." The room went still. A breathless silence filled the space. Delaney's jaw tightened, her eyes dropping to the floor. She said nothing more. Isaac watched it unfold. A slow momentum collapse of morale. This wasn't just dysfunction. It was a culture of silence, a place where speaking up only made you a target. After the meeting, Isaac found Delaney in the service station, wiping down laminated menus with a damp cloth. "You okay?" he asked quietly. She didn't look up. "I shouldn't have said anything. Just makes it worse." "You were just trying to help." She gave a half shrug. "I've worked in worse places." That sentence stopped him. Worse places. Like this wasn't even the bottom. Like this. This was tolerable. Expected. Isaac said nothing. He just grabbed a stack of silverware and started rolling it beside her. The unspoken solidarity hanging heavier than any words could have carried. By lunchtime, the restaurant was packed. The kitchen fell behind almost instantly. A new busser, maybe 16 at most, fumbled a tray of glasses near the front, sending shards clattering across the tile floor. Devin's voice thundered from the pass window. "Clean that up before someone sues us." Isaac grabbed a broom and knelt beside the kid, sweeping the glass while the kitchen roared behind them. No one else moved. The line was backed up, tickets piled high. Devin was sweating through his chef's coat, screaming time calls that nobody could meet. Orders were either rushed or stalled. A young cook leaned close and whispered to Isaac, "He threw a pan at someone last week, just missed." Isaac turned to look at the kid. His eyes were red-rimmed, heavy. He couldn't have been more than 20. "Lee, why are you still here?" Isaac asked gently. The cook shrugged. Pays better than fast food, and Kelly doesn't care. Isaac turned back toward the line. Devin was tossing a half-raw chicken breast back onto the flat top with his bare hands. No thermometer, no check, just heat and plate. Later that afternoon, a young couple came in with a toddler. Isaac was bussing a nearby table when the mother leaned toward her husband and whispered, "This high chair feels sticky." Isaac stepped in, voice soft. "I'll grab a clean one for you." He went to the back, found another chair, wiped it down thoroughly, and brought it back himself. The mother smiled at him gratefully. "Thank you. I'm not complaining, it just feels like this place is worn out." Isaac nodded, unable to offer any words that wouldn't sound hollow. After they left, he stepped into the back hallway and spotted the cleaning checklist on the wall. It hadn't been signed in 3 days. He made his way to the office. Kelly sat behind the desk, scrolling through her phone. "Quick question," Isaac began. "The cleaning logs haven't been filled out since Tuesday. Is that something I should be doing, or—" He didn't look up. "If it's not your job, don't worry about it. But no one's signed it in days." She sighed, finally glancing at him. "We're short-staffed. People clean when they can. The logs are just for show." "For show?" Isaac repeated, his voice sharper than he meant. "We've got inspections next month. We'll fill them out then. For now, just focus on your station. Don't act like you run the place." He stood there for a long moment, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Then he turned and walked away. That dinner shift was worse than anything Isaac had imagined. Bryce, the same server who had no-showed his last shift, waltzed in midway through service wearing wrinkled pants and a hoodie. No apology, no explanation, no clock-in. He just grabbed an apron and started taking tables. Delaney pulled him aside, her tone low but firm. "You're 3 hours late." Bryce smirked. "Relax. They're lucky I even showed up. You walked out mid-shift last week. A table had to be comped because you just disappeared." Bryce shrugged, smug. "Not my problem. They still paid me." Before Delaney could respond, Kelly walked past and muttered, "Just get through tonight. We can't afford more drama." Isaac overheard it all, and something inside him, something held tight for too long, finally snapped. "Certainly. Here's the carefully translated and expanded American English version of your latest scene, with added emotional depth, expanded inner monologue, and enriched dialogue to match the Hollywood storytelling rhythm and tone." Delaney quietly stepped up behind Isaac. "What just happened?" she asked, eyes searching his face. Isaac's voice was calm, even. "He's been let go. In any restaurant I run, no one gets to talk like that and keep their job." Delaney studied him for a long moment. "You're not just a new hire, are you?" He didn't answer. That night, after the last guest had left and the doors had been locked, the building seemed to exhale in exhaustion. The kitchen was a wreck. Grease on the counters, prep tables uncleaned, mop water in the bucket dark gray and untouched for hours. Isaac didn't complain. He just rolled up his sleeves and began scrubbing one of the prep surfaces. A young busboy appeared beside him, wordless, grabbing a mop and joining him on the floor. "You fired Bryce," the kid said, almost to himself. Isaac nodded. "Good. He's been awful since I started." Nothing else needed to be said. They just worked in silence, 2 people chipping away at the damage left behind by a shift gone sideways. But for Isaac, fatigue had shifted into something else entirely. Resolve. Tomorrow, he would no longer be AN. At 10 a.m., Isaac pulled into the lot in his own car. No disguise, no apron, no fake beard, just a crisp button-down and the quiet weight of authority. The cold morning air carried his breath in little clouds as he stood outside the entrance, watching. One by one, staff members walked in. No smiles, no chatter. Heads low, movements slow, as if entering a place of punishment rather than a workplace. It wasn't just burnout. It was defeat. Isaac recognized the look. He had seen it before, in kitchens with leaders who led by fear, not by example. Then Kelly arrived, coffee in one hand, her eyes glued to her phone. She didn't even see him until she reached for the door handle. "Kelly," he said quietly. She startled, blinking at him. I'm Isaac Willer. I own this restaurant." The coffee in her hand lowered slowly, her brain clearly scrambling to catch up with the reality in front of her. "I'd like to speak with you inside," he said, holding the door open. Inside the cluttered office, receipts spilled off the desk, the cash drawer sat half open, and Kelly looked like someone preparing to take a hit, uncertain whether to defend or to brace. Isaac stayed standing. "I've worked here the past 2 days," he began. "I've seen how this place is run. I've seen how staff are ignored, how health standards are brushed aside, and how you allow behavior that would get someone sued anywhere else." Kelly started to speak, but he raised a hand to stop her. "I'm not interested in excuses. I'm interested in accountability. You've fostered a culture where no one feels safe to speak up, where corners are cut and decency is optional." She sighed, folding her arms tightly. "We've been understaffed for months. I've been covering shifts, placing orders, putting out fires. I don't have time to babysit grown adults." "No one's asking you to babysit," he replied. "They need a leader, someone who sets a standard and holds people to it." Kelly's eyes narrowed. "So what now? You're firing me?" Isaac didn't blink. "Yes." She stood up sharply. "You think this place runs without someone tough? You're kidding yourself." He stepped aside and opened the door. "We'll find someone who knows the difference between being tough and being toxic." Kelly grabbed her bag and left without another word. As soon as the door shut behind her, Isaac pulled out his phone and called Clara, his longtime regional director. She had been with him since he only owned 2 stores. "Clara, I need you here today. In person, no Zoom, no meetings." She didn't ask why. "I'll be there in 2 hours." Out front, he found Delaney straightening menus. When she looked up and saw him, really saw him in his own clothes, she froze. "I knew it," she murmured. "Can we talk for a minute?" he asked, gesturing to a nearby booth. They sat. "I'm sorry I didn't say anything sooner," Isaac began. "But I needed to see it for myself." He met her eyes. "I saw the way you ran the floor, the way you carried the team. You kept this place from falling apart." Delaney lowered her gaze, unsure how to respond. "I also saw how you were dismissed, how you spoke up and got shut down. That ends now." She looked up again. "Callie." "She's gone." "She is." Delaney let out a quiet breath. Her shoulders dropped slightly. "What happens now?" "I've got someone coming to stabilize operations. But I need you. You know who's trying and who's just clocking in. I don't want to patch this place up. I want to rebuild it from the inside out." Delaney nodded slowly. "There are people worth keeping, but they're burnt out. They don't trust anyone anymore." Isaac leaned in. "Then I'll earn that trust back, starting today." She didn't smile, but she looked at him straight on. "One good shift won't fix this." He nodded. "Then I'll stay as long as it takes." Back in the kitchen, Devin was barking orders like always, oblivious to the storm that had already passed through. Isaac stepped in and waited until Devin turned around. "What now?" Devin grunted, not even bothering to look him in the eye. "You're done here." Devin paused, blinking. "What? I've kept this kitchen running while you sat on your ass cashing checks." Isaac's tone didn't shift. "There are plenty of people who know how to cook without risking customer safety or degrading staff." Devin sneered. "You're making a mistake." Isaac stepped forward. The mistake was hiring you without meeting you first. I won't make that mistake again." Devon slammed a drawer shut and stormed out. The entire kitchen fell quiet. A young woman with a floral bandana on her head looked up from her station. "Does that mean it's okay to ask questions again?" Isaac gave her a small smile. "It means you'll be trained properly. Food safety is our top priority, and if you ever feel unsafe or disrespected, you speak to your manager." He pinned a laminated card to the kitchen wall, an internal integrity hotline, a number no one here had ever been told about. Clara arrived at noon. Her navy coat was crisp, her tablet already open under one arm. "How bad?" she asked quietly. Isaac handed her a list, staff names, notes on who needed retraining and who needed to go. "We'll need a temp kitchen lead," Clara noted. Isaac pointed to the woman with the bandana. "Her. Quiet but sharp. She held it together when Devon didn't." Clara nodded, already moving. That entire day, Isaac never left the floor. He wiped down tables, filled glasses, rang up checks, just like before. Only now, everyone knew who he was. By the time dinner service wrapped, something had shifted. It wasn't miraculous, it wasn't perfect, but it was different. Orders still took time, but they came out hot. Staff were still tired, but no longer walking on eggshells. Delaney still moved quickly, but her eyes didn't carry that same tension. That evening, Clara gathered everyone near the kitchen. "This place suffered from poor leadership," she said clearly. "That ends today." "Absolutely. Below is the American English adaptation of your final story segment, expanded with additional emotional depth and character insight, written in a style that fits cinematic storytelling and exceeds the original length by over 60% for enhanced emotional resonance, especially with an American audience." Isaac stepped forward, his voice steady but thick with intention. "If you've been trying and haven't been recognized, we see you now. If you've just been coasting, those days are over. And if anyone here ever disrespects another person, there won't be a second chance." Silence. It stretched across the kitchen like steam rising from a forgotten pot. No one said a word until a soft voice cut through the stillness. It was the young dishwasher, the same one Bryce had mocked days before. She raised her hand, almost timidly. "Do we still have to work with the old staff?" Isaac's answer was firm, without hesitation. "Not if they were part of the problem. That's my promise to you." It was a simple vow, but for the people in that room it felt like sunlight cracking through concrete. The staff slowly began to filter out, their steps a little less heavy than before, but Isaac remained, sitting at a booth beside Clara. The chairs were flipped, the lights dimmed low. The scent of garlic and browned butter still lingered in the air like echoes from meals barely finished. Clara glanced down at her tablet, then looked up. "You think this team can come back from it?" Isaac didn't answer right away. He scanned the quiet restaurant, every corner holding memories both bitter and beautiful. "If they want to," he finally said, "and I think some of them really do." Clara tapped the side of her tablet. "Then we start fresh. No excuses." Isaac nodded. "And no shortcuts." He turned his gaze toward the kitchen, where Marisol, the quiet line cook who had taken over after Devon, was checking fridge temperatures. No one had asked her to. She was just doing it, one quiet standard at a time. That's how everything starts. The next morning, Isaac arrived before the sun had fully risen. The restaurant was dark. The neon sign hadn't yet blinked to life. He stood outside, sipping lukewarm coffee from a paper cup, watching fog roll lazily across the parking lot. It was the kind of peaceful stillness he hadn't felt in years. When the staff began to arrive, they moved slower than usual, eyes down, unsure of what to expect. They knew something big had happened. But they didn't yet know who Isaac Willer really was, or what kind of change he intended to bring. Inside, Clara was already posted up at a corner booth, sleeves rolled, tablet out. She was going over scheduling and new prep procedures with Marisol. The woman wore the same floral-patterned bandana, eyes focused, calm, precise. She hadn't asked for a promotion, never once mentioned ambition, but last night she had stepped up, quietly, naturally. While everything around her threatened to break, she didn't. Isaac stepped into the kitchen. The whiteboard had been scrubbed clean, no grease, no faded scribbles. A new schedule had been posted, neat and balanced. The walk-in fridge had been gutted and restocked. Every container now had a label. Every shelf was in order. No one had to be reminded. He found Marisol adjusting the timer on the convection oven. "You stay here all night?" he asked. She didn't look up. "No. Just came in early. Wanted to make sure it was ready before we open." He nodded. "You handled yesterday better than most people I've worked with." She shrugged. "I don't like chaos." "I don't either," he said. "But staying calm in the middle of it, that's leadership." She paused, then finally turned to him. "I'm not a chef. I've never run a kitchen." "You are now," he said. "You've earned it." She didn't smile. She didn't argue. She just nodded once, then went back to work. Out front, Delaney was at the register. She counted cash slowly, wiped down the POS screen, refilled receipt paper. All methodical, all focused. She didn't look up as Isaac approached. "I've got to ask," he said softly. "Why'd you stay? With all the mess, the disrespect? Why didn't you leave?" Still focused on her work, she replied, "I needed the job. That's not the whole reason." She closed the drawer, adjusted the printer paper, her voice lowered. "I like people. I like making someone's day a little better, even when mine's a mess." Isaac studied her. "You've got options? You're sharp. You could have gone anywhere." She exhaled, finally looking up. "There's this couple, the Kleins. They come every Thursday. Their son used to work here. He passed away 2 years ago. This place, it still means something to them. I couldn't walk away from that." Isaac didn't say anything. He just stood there, letting the weight of her words settle deep. "You'll be shift lead starting next week," he said gently. "If you want it." She raised her eyebrows, almost skeptically. "You sure that's not just a thank you for surviving the last 6 months?" "No," he replied. "It's because I want this place in the hands of people who see more than just tables and tickets." That afternoon, the restaurant moved like a place rediscovering its own rhythm. The kitchen was still a little slow, but every plate came out hot and clean. There were no shortcuts, no second-hand food. Marisol checked temperatures every hour, asked questions, wrote things down. Isaac worked like any other staffer, running plates, bussing tables, checking the back alley for garbage overflow. No speeches, no show, just sleeves rolled up, doing the work. Mid-shift, an older man came in alone. He sat quietly at the bar and ordered the chicken parmesan. Delaney brought it to him herself. Isaac watched as she knelt beside the table, whispering gently, "Is everything okay with the meal?" The man smiled, nodded, and then, thinking no one was watching, dabbed his eyes with a napkin. Isaac turned to Delaney when she returned. "That the Kleins?" She nodded once. "Mr. Klein. His wife passed away last month." Isaac looked over at the man, still twirling his fork through the pasta slowly, as if he was trying to make it last. "I'll cover his meal," Isaac said quietly. Delaney didn't argue. She just nodded. That evening, Clara called everyone together again. There were no big speeches, just a clear, steady plan. "We're hiring 2 more kitchen staff," she said. "Part-time for now. Marisol will help train them." Marisol nodded. "We're also rotating closing duties. No more of the same people working 5 nights a week." Isaac stepped forward. "We can't fix everything in a week. But We're not going back. If you're here, it's because we believe in how you work. If you need support, ask for it. If something's broken, say something. No more silence. He looked around, at the dishwasher, the young busser, the weary-eyed line cook. They all stood a little straighter than the day before. Anything else? Clara asked. The dishwasher raised her hand. The prep sink's still dripping. We've been using the mop bucket to catch it. Isaac turned to Clara. Call a plumber, first thing tomorrow. The girl nodded, then quietly returned to stacking trays. After the staff clocked out and left, Isaac stayed behind. The lights were low, chairs flipped up, the buzz of dinner service finally gone. He stood by the host stand, staring at the laminated menu. Faded, curled at the edges, still listing outdated specials no one ordered anymore. He pulled it down, folded it in half. Delaney passed by, coat slung over her shoulder. "You're still here?" she asked. "Still closing," he replied with a tired smile. She gave a soft laugh. "Better than it used to be." "Not exactly a high bar," he joked. "No," she agreed. "But it's something." Isaac locked up behind her, then stood outside for a long moment, watching the last few cars disappear into the night. The next morning, Isaac met with the corporate training team. No more rushed sign-ons. Every new hire would receive proper onboarding within 48 hours. Food safety, kitchen standards, escalation procedures, no exceptions. He also requested quarterly surprise audits, not to punish, but to stay honest. By the weekend, 2 new cooks had started. Marisol personally trained them, station by station. Delaney coordinated shifts with a new part-time host, ensuring no one was stuck with double shifts. The air was still tired, but it was no longer brittle. Staff began to help each other, without being asked. Guests stayed longer. Some even left handwritten compliments for the kitchen staff. Isaac never wore a disguise again. He didn't need to. Twice a week, unannounced, he would walk in. No clipboard, no fanfare. Just a man who asked, "Where can I help today?" The restaurant didn't become perfect, but it became honest. And to Isaac Willer, that was the only thing that ever really mattered.